Hey guys, welcome back or welcome to my channel. If you are new here, welcome to my channel. My name is Becca. I'm a Seattle-based reserve flight attendant. And if you guys have been part of the Sky Fam, welcome back. So if you haven't been caught up on my videos, last fall I announced that I am taking a big trip to South Africa in literally 9 days, and it is a 2-week trip. I have never been to South Africa, let alone Africa as a whole. This is completely new territory for me, and I'm so excited. And I figured I would take you guys along and show you how I am packing for a 2-week international trip. So if that sounds interesting to you, then keep on watching. This video is going to be similar to my ultimate packing guide for flight attendant training, which I will link up above. Also, I'm going to have a digital download linked in the description box that is going to touch on everything that I talk about today. And this will be a $2 downloadable guide if you just want something printed out or just handy on your phone as you're packing if you're planning any big trips coming up. My other guide that is very similar but more specific to flight attendant training is a free download with, of course, donations are welcome if you would like to donate and support my channel. That will also be linked on my Buy Me a Coffee page down below, so you can pick accordingly. Without further ado, we are going to talk about how to pack and how best to pack for an international trip. This video is definitely going to be for more like budget conscious, budget minded travelers. Of course, as I mentioned, as a flight attendant, I have nice perks and travel benefits that make flying significantly a reduced cost for me in my particular situation. However, with that, I have to be very mindful of a few things, especially when it comes to baggage. So I first want to talk about baggage requirements. This is something that you need to keep in mind, specifically if you're leaving the US and going to other countries, because other countries, specifically in Europe, have smaller carry-on allotments, smaller checked bag requirements, smaller personal items. So if you know what airlines you're planning on taking on your travels, definitely look up their baggage size and dimension maximums, because it's probably going to be smaller than what you're used to if you're a US citizen. So that's something to keep in mind. And with today's video, I'm only packing for 2 weeks in a carry-on and a backpack as my personal item. That is it. It is possible, and as someone who has a minor shopping addiction and likes to switch out her closet quite frequently, I promise you that it is doable, and I'm going to show you how to do it and how to maximize your space. Another reason you might want to consider downsizing from a checked bag, a carry-on, and a personal item to just a carry-on and a personal item is because, first of all, it's going to save you money. Especially if you're planning on doing a big backpacking trip where you'll probably be flying multiple airlines, multiple different countries. That's a lot of stuff to remember, and that's a lot of potential baggage fees, checked bag fees that you might be dealing with beforehand. So if you just pack with a carry-on and a personal item, those two items are typically included with your airfare ticket, typically. Of course, always double check, but generally speaking, those are two things that travelers are always allotted for free. Also, just traveling with your carry-on in a backpack or a personal item, I just like it because it's less stressful. You don't have to worry about, is my bag gonna make it on the plane in time? Because trust me, I hear stories every single day. And just traveling more light and having everything you need on your person just personally gives me a feeling of relief, knowing that I have everything I need. I don't have to stress, like I'm good. I've got everything I need right here with me. So with that all being said, if that sounds interesting to you, keep on watching. We're gonna first start with some important things to remember. So first we're gonna talk about the important overarching things to keep in mind when you're packing. And it's funny to me because it's jogging my memory, because I haven't done a pleasure international trip like this in a very long time. Like, I'm talking pre-YouTube, back when I was studying abroad in London in the UK, back in college. That's probably the last time I remember doing something big like this. And also, when I traveled in high school, I went overseas to Australia and New Zealand, and I way overpacked for that, let me tell you. So I've learned a lot. I am well traveled. It's just been a hot minute since I've done a 14.5-hour flight, but we're gonna get there. So, some important things to keep in mind. You are going to want to have a paper copy of your passport and your license, preferably in color, but a scanned copy of both those documents. They can be on the same scan, that's fine. It can be black and white, but typically scan in color and then maybe print out in black and white, just so you have like high resolution details of your passport and your license in case, God forbid, life happens and maybe you drop your passport somewhere, it gets lost, stolen, etc. I have had my passport stolen. Thankfully, it was when I was in the US already, but it is not fun, especially when travel is literally your job. So it's always good to have those very important documents backed up in your purse at all times in your accommodation, just in case something happens and you need to prove who you are. The next thing that I believe is important when you're traveling to a new country that either you've never been to, or even if you have been there before, it's just an always good thing to have saved in your phone, is your country's consulate or embassy's closest office in the country that you will be visiting. And if you're visiting multiple countries, then write down all the different embassies for your representation of your country in your phone as you make your way across your trip wherever you may be going. So for me in South Africa, I wrote down the closest US embassy, US consulate, and that's in Pretoria in South Africa. I will not be near Pretoria. I will only be in Cape Town and a little bit outside Cape Town, but still save this information in your phone, because God forbid something happened to you while you're traveling and you need, diplomatic help. You need your country to know your whereabouts. It's always better to have that saved in your phone just in case. With that being said, another important thing that you should always do when you're about to go traveling internationally is write down the address of your accommodation and their phone number. Give yourself a copy, and then also a copy to a loved one or your emergency contact, someone who has an idea of your whereabouts if you're a solo traveler like me. So this is important because, one, you might lose your phone from the airport to landing to arriving in that country. So possibly in that order. So if you lose things that are important, you want to know where you're going, and especially if you're traveling somewhere where there's possibly a language barrier, or you're going somewhere that speaks a different language from you, having these things written down, you can at least point to it and show someone, like, how do I get here? You're pointing and like you're asking them as best you can where that place is. I would also recommend printing out a copy of your itinerary if you have one, if you have a rough idea of where you'll be, what you'll be doing, and when, especially if you're going to be, let's say, backpacking across Europe and going to multiple cities, multiple countries. Having a general idea of your route and sharing that even basic itinerary with someone, like, I'll be roughly in this country during these days, and this country in these days, anything. Just give a basic itinerary to your loved ones or your emergency contact so that somebody has an idea of your whereabouts. I hate thinking of worst case scenarios, but it's better safe than sorry. Another thing on the topic of whereabouts and communication, make sure that you have a plan for your phone, whether that be an international plan through your current carrier. So in the US, all of the big carriers offer some kind of international, like, daily pass. I have AT&T. I believe they offer a $12 a day international phone plan that charges you, like, my trip is 2 weeks, that's 14 days. I think it charges only maximum of 10 days. So if your trip is 10 days or longer, that's $120 international unlimited phone plan for you right there. That's the only one I know specifically off the top of my head because I have AT&T. Or your other option is to go a SIM card route or an eSIM card route, which those are becoming super popular and way more cost efficient. If you're tech savvy, there's an app called Airalo, which I will link below. I'm not affiliate. However, they are used by a lot of people who travel online, and they offer eSIM cards that are downloaded directly through their app. So you download the app, you type in the country or countries you're going to, and it'll give you either a local or a regional option for an eSIM that makes the most sense for you. You pre-purchase it with a set amount of data on it, data gigabytes on it, and then you go from there. You pre-purchase it, it activates once you land and arrive in that specific country or region, and you're good to go from there. You just top up as needed. And this is very cost efficient, and in my opinion, I think it's a lot cheaper option than going through your phone plan. I will link Airalo down below. I am not affiliated with them. It's just a personal recommendation I have for you. The last important thing I want to touch on before we even get to the packing portion is currency. I always suggest having a little bit of the country you're going to's currency on hand in cash prior to your departure of your home country, because you just never know who might try to, if you use your debit card at an ATM, who might try to swipe that. I've had that happen where someone tried to take my debit card PIN number and charge it a bunch of times when I was abroad, and then it deactivated my card, and that was kind of stressful. So I always recommend having, for me, since I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks, I'm getting the equivalent of $200 worth of South African Rand currency. However, I can't really gauge it for you. You're going to have to look up your home country to the country you're visiting's currency conversion ratio and see, roughly speaking, how expensive are the goods in that country relative to my home dollars, and what amount of money makes sense for me. Personally, for my trip, I know the US dollar goes quite a bit further, and I'm going for 2 weeks, so I took out $200 worth of cash to have on hand. But do your own research. Everyone travels different. I travel more like bougie on a budget style, but if you're just bougie, then plan accordingly. Or if you're gonna be in Switzerland, plan accordingly. Things are expensive, so just do your research on the cost of goods where you're going, and what some of your tours might be costing, and go from there. You're also gonna wanna make sure that you have at least one MasterCard or Visa credit card for wherever you are going, or if you're gonna go the debit card option or debit card route, then make sure your debit card is either a MasterCard or Visa. I know myself, I have a Visa credit card. I also have a Discover credit card. However, abroad, Discover isn't really widely known at all. That's mostly just in North America, and honestly, mostly just the United States. So definitely keep that in mind, that you're going to want a MasterCard or Visa when you're traveling abroad. So for part 2 of the video, we're gonna be talking about specifically long flight essentials. Again, if you're going on a really big international trip like me, 14 and a half hours in an airplane is a very long time. So I'm gonna give you a rundown of things I would recommend having on hand to help elevate and alleviate that experience, specifically if you're, let's say, in a middle seat on a jumbo jet and you feel like you're dying the whole time because you're so exhausted and you feel like you'll never ever land. I've been there. It's not fun. So first things to recommend are to obviously have these things in, let's say, your backpack or your personal item, because you're going to want to have these things easily accessible if your carry-on is up above in the overhead bins. Some things to keep in mind: a travel blanket and a travel pillow and an eye mask. These few things can totally at least help, block out any light if you're trying to nap. I would suggest asking the flight attendants periodically what time it is in your destination's time, so that way you can try to acclimate your body to the new time clock as the flight goes on, if that makes sense, because jet lag is going to be crazy the longer of a flight you're going to be on. So yes, you're going to want a travel pillow, travel blanket, and an eye mask just so you can try to get some sleep on that flight. You could even bring some earplugs. I recommend the loop earplugs that I mentioned in my holiday gift guide for flight attendants. I'll link that up above as well. for other ideas. But those few items will at least hopefully make you a little bit more comfortable so that you can fall asleep a little easier on the plane. I myself can never sleep on airplanes. I think it's just because I'm so used to working them, so I psych myself out. So we'll see how this one goes. I'm hoping to catch at least a little bit of sleep throughout that flight. And the next thing that I think you should have on hand are some snacks. Of course, you're gonna want snacks for a 14-hour flight or however long your flight might be. I would say definitely check out your arrival country's rules in terms of their customs and security of what food items are prohibited and what's allowed. Typically, other countries do not allow fresh fruits and vegetables. It's super annoying because when I fly, I feel like I always want to have some fresh berries or fresh fruit or just something refreshing to nibble on. So unfortunately, you probably, if you do have fruit, and you bring it on the plane, you probably have to consume it while you're on the plane. You can't just take it off the plane with you, if that makes sense. So for me, I would recommend high protein snacks and things with fiber in them to keep you full and satiated and to keep your digestive tract moving while you're kind of putting your body through this really weird experience. So for me on my trip, I'm bringing vegan jerky, which each stick has like 10 grams of protein, a little bit of fiber, it's flavored, and they're small enough that I can pack quite a few of them in my backpack and keep with me on my trip once I land. And then I'm also bringing dried flavored edamame beans. I have like sea salt, sriracha, buffalo flavor. The beans, because of course they're edamame beans, they have protein and fiber, and they're a good little snack size portion. So those should keep you satiated at least a little bit long enough on your flight. Next, I would recommend downloading a bunch of shows and movies. This kind of depends on how long your flight is. I feel like I will have a plethora of time that I won't even know what to do with. And so I downloaded a bunch of shows on Amazon Prime. I'll probably download a bunch of shows on Netflix too. Right now I've been binging Gilmore Girls because I've actually never watched the show the whole way through before. I've only ever just seen snippets and clips here and there. So that's my current obsession. My cozy show of choice is Gilmore Girls. You're also, if TV and movies aren't your thing, if you're a gamer, you're going to want to bring your Switch and backup batteries for that if you plan on gaming on your flight. Or if you're a reader, you're going to want your books or your Kindle and have that be fully charged, as well as a pair of wireless headphones. I'm not going to be bringing my AirPod Pros. I'm going to be bringing, they're still Bluetooth, but they have a wired connection that go across the back of the neck. I'm going to be bringing those with me that I got off of Amazon forever ago, just because I want to not have flashy things when I travel because I tend to lose things. So I'm bringing not my nicest pieces of electronics, just things that I'm not going to be out a ton of money in case something goes missing or gets lost or what have you. In the same vein of electronics and those types of things, you're going to want to make sure you, of course, have your phone charger, just chargers for all of your devices you're planning on bringing, iPads, phones, laptops, whatever. You're also going to want to have a portable power bank. Have that with you and make sure that's fully charged, or charge it when you're in the air and have that ready for you for when you land. Just because you never know when you land in a new country how hard your phone is going to be working. I have an older phone now. My iPhone 12 is now considered old, which is crazy. I feel like I just got it 2 years ago, but it's been quite a while. So you're going to want to make sure you have everything charged up, all your chargers. I'm bringing a hard drive because I plan on taking a lot of pictures. So I have that device ready to go with all the dongles and attachments that I think are necessary for that. If you're planning on bringing, high quality cameras or GoPros or all these different techie kind of devices, you're going to want to make sure you have all your cords and cables organized with you in your backpack for your travels. A couple other things I want to mention in terms of the long flight and comfortability. Definitely look into compression socks, specifically knee-high compression socks. I'm a flight attendant. I wear compression tights literally every day. I feel like they have done wonders for my legs. I don't have varicose veins. My legs feel not heavy. They just feel normal by the end of my flying, and I'm on my feet the whole flight. I feel like compression tights make it so I can walk miles in my heels for work. I love them. I can't recommend them enough. So either if you have compression stockings, putting those on under whatever pants you're gonna wear in the plane, or compression socks, definitely something to help with your blood flow, especially if you have if you take blood thinners or have a blood clotting issue. This is definitely super important for you. You don't want to have your legs or your feet elevated for too long in the flight. You want to make sure you get up, walk around every hour or so, just to get some blood flow moving. Also, in terms of hygiene on such a long flight, because you don't know if it's going to be cold or hot, if you'll be sweating on the plane, etc., you're going to want to have a small bag of toiletries in your personal item that's with you by your seat, so that way you can excuse yourself to go to the bathroom, do a quick little face wash, brush your teeth, reapply deodorant, because you're probably going to be feeling gross and just totally confused by the end of the flight. So if you can at least make your body feel and smell a little bit better, that should help your comfortability. I also recommend just bringing an antimicrobial face spray or face mist spray, because I work on an airplane and I know how germy they are, and they're really gross, and you can't guarantee the sanitization of anything after that long of a flight. So speaking from personal experience, an antimicrobial face spray is nice to just make sure, if you're acne prone, that you can keep your skin clear. I also totally recommend bringing face masks, sheet masks, especially when you're trying to fall asleep. It's a little, calm, just a calming, nice cooling sensation on your skin that'll feel really hydrating. I've seen people use face masks and eye masks on the plane all the time, and their skin looks amazing by the time we land. So I would definitely recommend that. Treat yourself. If you're on a long flight, you have nothing but time to treat yourself. The last few items I'll mention, in particular for the flight that I just remembered. One is, if you do have Bluetooth headphones, consider getting a little Bluetooth splitter device. I have this one by Airfly. So it looks like this, and that way you just plug it into the tablet that is attached to your seat back, and you can actually listen to the shows and movies on the seat back through your own personal headphones. Otherwise, I would recommend, in addition to that actually, I'd recommend bringing a wired pair of headphones, the old-fashioned kind, from Y2K, early 2000s, just in case, because you never know, technology can be weird, especially over the ocean. So in case your stuff doesn't work anymore, I want to make sure that you can at least listen to your own stuff on your phone, so maybe bring a wired pair of headphones as backup just in case. Also, this seems like a no-brainer, but a refillable water bottle that you fill up before you step on the plane. I can't tell you how many times I have people step on the plane and realize they forgot to fill up their water bottle. And I try my best to accommodate people, but you just, you only have so much water on the flight. So I would totally recommend, if you have the time after security, make sure because you already had to empty it before security, refilling up your refillable water bottle. And also, don't feel afraid to ask the flight attendants or meet them in the galleys to say, hey, I know you just did service, but could I top up my water? You want to stay hydrated, especially on super long flights. And the last thing I totally forgot to mention was a sleep aid, because your body clock's going to be all sorts of messed up on a long flight. So feel free to ask the flight attendants what time it is in the country you're arriving in, and try to plan a deeper sleep somewhere that makes sense comparative to the time zone change. So I recommend melatonin gummies. I live by them. Sometimes I have such a hard time sleeping with time changes all the time. I recommend them, and I think that's a good tool. Or there's other liquid sleep aids out there too that you can bring on your flight to help you try to get a good night's sleep at some point in time. Now for part 3 of the video, the final part of the video, we're going to be talking about actually packing your carry-on with clothes and other more important items for the trip. So this is where things get a little subjective because I do not know what kind of trip you are taking. You could be taking a 2-week trip to the Swiss Alps just for skiing, in which case you're gonna have a lot more baggage than I do and a lot thicker, heavier pieces of clothing, hats, gloves, etc. So you're gonna have to pack according to your trip's requirements. So you're gonna have to take into account the climate about 2 weeks before you're going. Check on the weather app, weather.com, look up your location that you're going to, see what the weather's like, get an idea, a rough gauge of, are there any storms coming in during my trip? Do I need an umbrella? Is it gonna rain a lot? It all just depends. So I say your best rule of thumb is to pack in layers. So for me, it'll be summertime in the place that I am going. So I'm packing a few lightweight pairs of hiking shorts, a few longer pants options, like loose fit long pants options, one for the plane in case it's cold, and also where I'm going is known to be a little windy, so I want to have my legs protected and covered. Are you going to be someplace that's kind of buggy? Do you want to make sure you have long socks so that you're not getting your ankles bug bitten? Other things you're going to want to consider: are you going to have any nicer days where you go and do something a little more luxurious? Do you want to have a nicer casual outfit, a dress maybe, a cardigan? These are all things you're going to want to consider when you're packing. I always recommend, it depends also how long your trip is. Mine is 2 weeks, almost exactly 2 weeks, depending. I'm going to try and go a few days early. So my trip's about 2 weeks, and I'm bringing laundry pods, a little like hand wash, dissolvable clothing soap so that I can like hand wash a few pieces of clothing in a sink. Also bringing some dryer sheets so that way in my accommodations I can use their laundry facilities, because I don't think it's feasible to pack 14 pairs of underwear. That's going to take up so much space in your bag. So I would recommend bringing, maybe if your trip is 2 weeks, bringing 7 pairs and planning on doing a load of laundry while you're at your destination. These are the little things you're going to want to keep in mind if you're going to have access to laundry facilities, because if you're not, then yeah, you're going to have to accommodate for 14 pairs of underwear and socks. So this is where things get very customizable. So I will say for my trip, I'm going to a country where it's going to be summertime. I'm going to be doing a lot of outdoor activities, including hiking, paddle boarding, swimming on the beach specifically, a day on a boat. I'm going to be doing lots of active outdoorsy things and also a lot of water activities. So I'm planning accordingly. I'm bringing layers of pants and shorts. I'm bringing a nicer dress for the wine country. I'm bringing hiking sandals just for daily, everyday walking around. I'm also bringing hiking sneakers. I'm bringing a pair of my Hokas, just my regular sneakers. I'm bringing a pair of flip-flops. So these are 4 different pairs of shoes I'm bringing just for a 14-day trip. Shoes are gonna probably take up a lot of room in your bag, so that's something to consider. Sports bras, regular undergarments, swimsuits, cover-ups. If you have specific hair care products and makeup you want to bring, these are all things to consider. I highly suggest going light on the makeup, because I think you're going to be wanting to spend most of your time exploring the amazing destination you're at rather than focusing on putting on a full beat on your face. So I'm bringing very like bare bones makeup, like mascara, color corrector, a little bronzer, blush, and mascara if I didn't already say that. So, oh, and some chapstick. Like, I'm going bare bones with makeup. For hair care, I'm just bringing hair ties, my little clear hair ties so I can do braids and curl my hair, maybe a hair clip, but that's about it. I'm trying to keep my personal items super minimal because I know clothes are going to take up quite a bit of space. I'm going to bring a windbreaker because the destination I'm going to gets quite windy, especially because I'm planning on hiking a mountain or taking the gondola up the mountain, but it's windy at the top of the mountain. So having a sweater and a windbreaker for that. And in terms of maximizing the space in your carry-on, I always personally recommend to lay all your items flat. Start with your clothing and lay it as flat as possible, only folding the edges so that everything is a flat layer in your bag. A lot of people swear by rolling their clothes or using compression bags. For me personally, I haven't found that that's efficient with my time, my energy, and the resources available to me, because like if you need to use a vacuum to like suck all the air out of your bags to make things smaller, are you really gonna have time on your trip to be doing that process, especially if you're hopping around different accommodations? I don't know, that's your decision to make. But for me personally, I'm just gonna bring a little bit of laundry supplies and do laundry so that I have less clothes with me on my trip. Another thing you're gonna wanna think about is souvenirs and duty-free items. Depending on where you're going, the country you're going to might be known for certain things, and you might wanna bring some stuff home, and you're gonna need space for that. So like for instance, South Africa is known for some of their rooibos loose leaf tea, spices, wine. So if you're planning on bringing any of these things home, you need to make room for them. So for me personally, I think everybody has their own kind of system for packing. I think what works best from a surface area perspective is to lay your items as flat as humanly possible. All right guys, there you have it. Those are all my tips and tricks for packing for an international trip, an international flight, long flights, long hauls. I hope this helped. Again, I will have a digital download listed below with a few extra things that I didn't touch on today. If you're interested in that, that'll be in the description bar below for $2. Please consider supporting my channel, supporting my content. Next time you guys see me, I will be back from South Africa with so much to share with you guys. But I'm gonna wrap this up here. Wherever you are in the world, I hope you are doing well, staying healthy, and I will catch you guys in the skies.